But as the nation continues to grapple with the challenges of economic instability, insecurity, and corruption, one question remains: will President Tinubu's vision for a renewed Nigeria translate into tangible progress for its citizens? And that's one big question to answer this morning. So we're going to have our own town hall meeting. We're going to open the phone lines and hear from you what you think about Mr. President's very first media chat, if he was able to answer the questions on your heart and also appeal to the senses and sentiments of Nigerians at this time. Joining me is Ademola Oshodi, who is SSA to Mr. President on Foreign Affairs and Protocol. Mr. Oshodi, compliments of the season to you, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you. Compliments.
All right, so we're going to begin the first half discussing thoughts in line of Mr. President's maiden media chat. And then perhaps in the second half, we're also going to focus on what he's been able to do in the area of foreign relations. Well, let's begin with what your initial impression of Mr. President's media chat was. Did he address the key issues Nigerians expected him to? How will you rate his performance?
I could be rather biased, but I will try to be fair and objective. There's no other president that has been quite frank and bold in his policies and his objectives. The president fiercely defended his policies, his reforms, and he said that he made a case that it was good for the country. He made a case that he knew what he was doing, and we should be patient. It was quite open. We had all the media houses there. Even people that media houses that typically were may not be favorable to him. So his policies were laid out. He defended them, and he told the Nigerian public that this is what he means and this is how he's going to do it. He also defended the fact that nothing can deter him from bringing a better life and better changing the situation of Nigeria. Many of his policies are controversial, extremely painful, but his intentions were very clear. And I believe he reached out to the Nigerian population through, away from the utterances from social media or from media that would be less objective to his case. He reached out directly to Nigerians and he told them this is what he plans, this is what he intends, and this is how it's going to change your life. He made great promises for 2025, which is something is rather exciting. So I believe it was quite a formidable and beneficial media chat directed to the Nigerians.
Well, you are senior special assistant to the man yourself, so I don't expect you to say anything bad in what he said. But I'll try to be the voice of balance and reckon so that we can find some balance to this conversation. Mr. President did say that Nigeria is on the path of recovery and that he had no regrets removing fuel subsidy at his inauguration in 2023. He mentioned that failure to do so would have amounted to the country spending the lives of its future generations. But do you think he really has a full grasp of the impact of these policies on the lived experiences of people right now, considering the quality of life they are living now, the purchasing power relative to before that announcement was made?
I do believe he understands what Nigeria is going through, and I'll tell you why. He gave references to people that changed their mode of life. Affluent people that reduces the way they use their vehicles, the number of vehicles. He also has more importantly, continuously mentioned the fact that he understands and is aware of the pain Nigerians are going through. He repeatedly said so, and even his Minister of Finance has also said so, and other government government heads. So it's something that he knows. I could clearly tell you that his tenure as governor of Lagos State went through a bit of that phase. I remember in parts of in Lagos, he cleared streets trading. He was one of the first governors to do that and cleared many of the arteries where cars and buses go through. And it was very painful for a lot of Lagosians. And he went out on the street and he told them the reason he was doing it. And if you go through many parts of Lagos right now, there's clear movement, there's more orderliness. He has his vision, and you cannot take that away from him. So he knows where to start, how to start, and he knows the process, and he knows the conclusion. It's experience that said so. It's experience that showed this. So I believe he's empathetic to what people are going through, and he's continuously in communication with the country, and that's very important. There's one thing to just state something and then sit back and just watch things play. He's actually in constant communication. He's actually telling people in whenever press conferences he has, whether in Nigeria or outside, about his reforms and what he intends to do, and as based on your question, what people are going through. It's never going to be easy. Reforms are painful. I mean, you can talk about historically what happened in places around the world when Indira Gandhi did reforms. The Congress Party, the Congress Party in India in recent times did their reforms in the 90s and opened up the economy. Talk about China opening up the economy after the Chairman Mao's tenure, how it changed things. You can talk about, in Russia, how they went through, they were subsidizing everything. They were queuing up for bread, they were queuing up for, all the staple items, heavily subsidized. You talk about that in the UK, the welfare system that Margaret Thatcher broke and changed, fighting the union. And the UK is one of the most thriving economies in Europe, So it's a painful process. He's aware of history and he's communicated it. And he's showed his intention to stick with it. And so, yes, I believe that he knows what people are going through, and he's on the right track in resolving the challenges Nigeria face.
The thing is, there's a thin line between sympathy and empathy. You heard him crack a joke about one of his friends who had stopped driving his 5 Rolls Royce and his full subsidy was removed. And he was asking Nigerians to live within their means, Do you think people in government appreciate the fact that the means we're talking about here has become really mega for many Nigerians in recent months, that some don't even have the means to live within, in the real sense of
it? I would even say beyond recent months. In years, in progressive years, we've been patching, we've been subsidizing our future, subsidizing what the government, the economy could be, our potential. We were supposed to be the largest economy in Africa. Now, after we removed, we did reform on our fiscal and, foreign exchange process. We've been downgraded to that. So we've been living a lie in many cases because that's not really been our true state of affairs. We've been subsidizing, we've been just, again, patching. The president has clearly stated that he's open for business. He's ready to change things and encourage investments in Nigeria. You can't get investments if the investor from coming in from wherever sees that your economy is subsidized. Who's going to, we can't compete. The government is given freebies to oil, to oil consumption, to electricity, to the forex. So it's not just, it's just not authentic. And the president has taken steps to do that. So regarding those reforms and how you explained it, it's, again, it's a necessary process, painful, albeit very painful. I'm pretty sure life has changed a lot for Nigerians, even Nigerians in diaspora. Their demands are huge. People from back home are asking them for more money. Even the roads of Lagos, there's less traffic on the roads because of less people using their vehicles. but things will balance. There will be an equilibrium whereby the market forces and the people will adjust their lives for a better thing. So there's no way you can grow the economy without these reforms. It's absolutely no way.
I hear you when
You
you
have
say
to.
things will balance. I think the question also has to do with if there is a specific timeline to these things. Mr. President was heard yesterday saying he's just been in office for 18 months. But 18 months sounds like almost 2 years in a 4-year term. He did say that his administration has been able to meet its financial obligations without resorting to NNPCL for funding. So government is getting by, no doubt, but it's about the impact on the ordinary people. So despite spiraling inflation, Mr. President said he doesn't believe in price controls. You know, he mentioned that the market should be supplied while allowing the forces of demand and supply determine prices. Is there a timeline that, you know, Nigerians are aware of, and that then they can anticipate that within this period of time, we can begin to see the impact of all of these reforms, especially on our purchasing power?
Well, I can tell you this much, that the president has stated that he had confidence in his reforms taking about showing more, I should say, more impact to the Nigerian population in the year 2025, which is approaching. So that's encouraging. But I want to state clearly that reforms are a continuous process. You can have a new administration coming in and reforming the system. They have different ways. It could be the electoral system. It could be the financial system. It could even be issues of infrastructure. It could very much be even foreign policy. So there's always a constant reform. So they can't give I would not say, a definitive time when, boom, everything is great, everything is back to normal, and we're living in a state of paradise. So government is continuous. There's always challenges. There's always different things that you least expect. I know who expected the massive flooding, the dam breaking in Maiduguri, and affected so many people, affected farming, which in many ways affected our GDP. That was unexpected. So how do you expect, when global challenges, what about prices in the Middle East, how it affects our oil export and oil production, oil consumption? So all these things are not necessarily in people's government's control. This is where reforms are stated, the fact that it's a continuous thing. I'm confident that as the months and years go by, it will take fruition. It will take the necessary, you will see the necessary changes in the system. And the president has expressed that, as he stated. I mean, look at NNPC. We used to depend so much on NNPC. We used to depend so much on the means and ways process of financing our budget. That, as you know, has changed. There's a change. There's even debt payment from 98% or 97% to 68% of what the president claimed is remarkable. We're not just paying debt. We actually are reduced our debt portfolio and we're using the money for other things necessary for the economy. So it's a change. You tell people on the street, you tell the Okada driver, you tell the market woman that this is what the president is saying, and they will like, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't change the hardship I'm going through. But I would tell you that, that hopefully that market woman, that Okada driver, that person in the village will see changes as the months and weeks and and years go by, because they're structural changes. It's going to affect their lives. They will have a way whereby they will be able to show that, okay, if I farm, I will be able to go to the farm. Security will be better. I will be able to sell my produce. I'll be able to send my children to school. I'll be able to move from one part of the country to another without fear of being kidnapped or,
I hear you clearly, Mr. Oshodi, but you also agree with me that over the years we've witnessed a massive trust deficit in government on the part of the people. So Mr. President is saying Nigerians should live within their means, adjust your lifestyle to the current situation. But the question on the mind of others is, do we see the government reciprocate same? There are, concerns about cutting the cost of governance. He mentioned yesterday that he has confidence in his cabinet, dismissing suggestions to trim the cabinet size. Just how do people continue to believe in government on the other side if they don't seem to see, government doing the same in the area of cutting the cost of governance. We hear about buying luxury cars, furbishing houses and what have you.
Believe me, cutting the cabinet size or reducing the purchase of cars or luxury cars is not enough if you want to say cutting government. There has to be a very efficient system in place. The government has, revamped the Oresoi report. That is something that is on the plate. The Oresoi report, I will just tell you viewers, is streamlining the many federal parastatals and agencies and bringing it to one. So that's something that the government is looking into, is reviewing. So that itself is more, I would say, more impactful if there's anything. So, but no, it's cutting governance is not the all in all. We have to think about, as the president said, what is efficient? How do you ensure that the people in the position are doing the job and doing it effectively? I believe me, if you have 20 ministers, does that make the government cheaper? It's like it's just that they'll have more concentration of work, more portfolio, but it doesn't change things. There's still issues, there are places, there are things that each minister is responsible for, all facets of the economy and the political life. And there's also a constitution that says that I think that each state has to be represented in a government's cabinet. So how do you do with that? How do you manage that? So it's cutting governance. It's I believe is a grander thing. It's not just cabinet. It's not just luxury cars. As bad as that optics may be, it is really just being an efficient way of running government. And the president, this administration has looked into ways of reviewing how the civil service works, the government's foreign trips, right. With who goes with him, and in many ways ensuring that there's efficiency in the government.
Mr. President's concept of fighting corruption is rather unique. He talked about blocking the loopholes, increasing the standard of living. He mentioned increasing the minimum wage and what have you. What happens to consequences for bad behavior? I understand this concept of anti-corruption mechanism, like paying a living wage, but you can also fight corruption if you don't make examples of those who are corrupt.
Fighting corruption, it's probably the second challenge to humanity after bringing Adam and Eve into the world. So it's an ongoing thing. It's in any society we have that challenge. It's just ensuring that we have strong institutions. It's very, I can't stress it enough. You have strong institutions. You have the judiciary. You have the FCC. You have the police force. You have the border agencies, customs, immigration. You have even the man on the street not cheating a person that wants to buy a certain item from him. So it's a human thing, and President Tinubu has taken bold steps towards it. You can see with the outcome of what the FCC is doing and how the independence of the judiciary.
Hold that thought for a minute, Mr. Oshodi. We'll get back to it. Let's open the phone lines. Mr. George is live from Ikeja. Good morning. Mr. George, are you there?
Yes. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Nifemi, I greet your guest. Each time the president speaks to the public directly, I get the impression that his spokesmen do not either understand his aim and objective, or there is no close communication between him and his media men. What they portray to the public seems to be different from what the president has in mind. That's one. I saw a president yesterday that is in charge. He's in charge of, he takes a decision and stands by it. That is what leads to success. Confidence. that what you want to do, what you have planned to do, will come true. That is what attracts head, that brings success. I cherish that in my president. And I've been following him for about 30 years. This has been his standard, even when he was a Lagos State governor. And that was the reason why he achieved all he achieved all the while. I quite agree with him on his cabinet size. If you will allow me to delve into just two of his pronouncements yesterday. He talked about that he's confident about his cabinet size. He doesn't need to reduce it. Yes, 50 or so ministers is not too much to serve 200 million people. But one thing I see there, those ones that are called ministers of state, they don't have specific assignments. They should, in order to maximize their potentials. For example, in the Ministry of Health, you have the minister. Why not assign the NHIS and the primary health care delivery to Minister of State and say, for this aspect of this ministry, you will be held responsible for whatever the outcome is. He will know his duty, not just sitting behind the minister, the senior minister, and is just like a spare tire. I support the number, but they should be kept busy. If you look at the cabinet, you see that only about 10 of them are quite outstanding. We want to know what all of them are doing and why we should be spending our money on them. Then Mr. President should also please help, with this confidence he has, fight the oil cabal. They are bent on ensuring business as usual. The same thing with the governors. They are bent on saying that the rate of exchange does not go down. I personally do not agree that the Naira is exchanging for 1,500 and that is not the real rate. The real rate of exchange of the Naira to dollar is about 800 Naira. There are some people who do not want it to come down for selfish reasons. The president should help us to fight the governors and their allies and ensure that the ordinary Nigerian is the beneficiary. Those are the only areas I don't have all the time to go through. But I am proud of this president because he is ready to face decisions and get results. And that's what we want.
Thank you, Mr. Judge, for your contribution. Mr. President is saying that the members of this cabinet are effectively adding value and he's not prepared to bring down that size. Tax reform, according to him, is here to stay, even though he's open to adjusting some of the provisions that have to do with value-added tax. Let us take a short break, Mr. Oshodi, and when we return, we'll also turn the page on what he's been able to do in the area of international relations. He's made quite a number of foreign trips recently. He made mention of the recent one to Brazil and how much commitment is gotten in area of investment. We'll take a look at some of that as well when we return. Stay with us, everyone.